Fusions, shotties, SMGs, sidearms, and abilities abound, the Crucible hasn't historically been a very fun place to be, and while Update 7.3.5 doesn't directly address any of those issues, what it does do has made PvP legitimately the best it's been in years. Let's get into it. Firstly, and probably the most important for any high-end PvP player, dead zones. They can be explained and understood all day long, but the long and short is just crank them as low as possible and watch your aim get 10 times better. I promise I'm not kidding. Next up, special ammo. You'll spawn with 2 shots, then you'll have to earn more by getting primary kills or assists, which promotes significantly more primary use in general. It puts a hard damper on fusion and shoddy spammers, and coupled with the ability cooldown nerfs, also helps you make your average lifespan quite a bit longer and your deaths a bit less random. That's not all though, as shoddies, fusions, and traces were counter buffed by 20% to make those limited shots you do get feel more impactful and best of all, consistent. For the first time since the shotgun spread change, I can justify running a lightweight shoddy, which feels pretty cool since they've historically been my favorite archetype. Speaking about abilities, they've finally been addressed in a tangible way. All abilities take 15% longer to recharge in PvP only now, and supers in PvP take 20% longer. You really feel the lack of chaotic elements, and with less abilities, special, and supers, all that empty space lets primaries breathe for the first time in a very long time. Ironically, supers also feel way better to use, as there's less special ammo laying around to one-shot you, and also less supers to shut you down. It seems weird to say nerfing super cooldowns made supers feel better, but it definitely did. Next up, let's talk about the health buffs. All Guardians have 30 additional health for a total of 100 up from 70. Add this to the resilience-based 116 to 130 shield, and Guardians have gained a significant amount of tankiness. However, almost all primaries with very limited exceptions have been buffed to maintain their optimal TTKs. What has been nerfed, however, are body shot TTKs, which makes gunfights feel much more aim-intensive. As a hand cannon user who enjoys mainly primary gameplay, I am absolutely loving this, combined with the added precision customizable dead zones allow for, and the overall vibe of gunfights feels way less random. I can actually counter recoil and flinch for the first time, and the feeling is fucking electric. For the most annoying archetype of primary in the game, however, the sandbox changes have been anything but kind. Their base damage was reduced by 15%, their aim assist has been reduced, and their precision damage hasn't been buffed to counter the health bump. Bows are basically dead, requiring 2 headshots to secure a kill. And the cherry on top is that Wish Ender's wall hacks will now turn off after 3 seconds of holding the bow drawn. The most annoying weapon in the history of the Crucible has finally been slaughtered, and I am beyond glad. Can I get a freedom at last in the comments to commemorate this momentous occasion? Explosive rounds and flinch from hand cannons in general has also received a nerf, and while not perfect, does feel much better than before. Getting shot by a Crimson still feels like getting tail whipped by a Brontosaurus, but its 17.5% nerf to flinch makes dueling one feel slightly less impossible. It's not all upsides though, as the increased percentage of long-range primaries like pulses, autos, and scouts makes sniping feel a little bit worse, coupled with the 10% aim assist nerf they received, as well as the fact they didn't get a damage buff to counter the increased health of supers, and they're very hard to justify using in a quick play environment. I haven't tried them in 3s yet, but I imagine they'll retain much of their usability there due to the more controlled environment. I imagine that PC MNK players will like this change, but as a controller console Andy, I can't say I love it. Finally, to wrap up on some miscellaneous stuff. Fighting Lion and Devil's Ruin's laser mode got slapped with a damage nerf of 20% and 15% respectively to players only, which is pretty cool. Centered crosshairs are finally on console, which I've been waiting for about 7 years for. You can now tune the opacity of your radar, which is really nice as some red-tinged maps made it much harder to see. Grenade launchers finally have some competition in the heavy slot, as they now require much more precision due to a 5% blast radius nerf, boosted Guardian health, and machine guns being buffed. SMGs and sidearms are still nutty, but what are you really going to do about that? I'll take what I can get. Finally, skimmers are cool when they're not crashing your game or requiring you to bind toggle crouch to actually use their main feature of flying. Basically, Crucible feels amazing right now, so go play it. Sub, follow the kick, like the video, go smoke a crayon, whatever. I'm out.